I'm Dr. Donald Lloyd-Jones, an American Heart Association board member and part of the team behind the creation of Life's Simple 7. We're so grateful that you've chosen to partner with the American Heart Association to help us help you and your employees live happier, healthier, and longer lives. We've developed a list of 7 small steps that can help everyone improve their heart health. And you'd be surprised, those small steps can have big results. First, I think is a no-brainer. We certainly shouldn't be smoking tobacco products because we know what the effects can be on our health. So if you're currently smoking, it's very important to quit as soon as possible, and there are lots of tools available to help us do that. Once someone has quit smoking for at least a year, the risk for heart disease and stroke goes down almost to the levels of someone who has never smoked. The second health behavior I want to talk about is physical activity. The current guidelines for ideal levels of physical activity suggest that American adults should be getting 30 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical exertion at least 5 days a week. So that means 150 minutes every week participating in activities that are enough to elevate our heart rate and perhaps even break a small sweat. Eating a heart-healthy diet can be a real challenge in our environment. But the core elements of a heart-healthy diet have in fact been known for decades. And if you're interested in learning more about what healthy eating patterns look like, I'd recommend looking at the DASH eating plan, D-A-S-H, which can be found on the web, or the Mediterranean diet eating pattern. Both of those are exemplars of what a heart-healthy diet should look like. And they include plenty of fruits and vegetables, lean proteins, particularly fish as the major source of protein in the diet, higher fiber when we're eating starches rather than simple starches like sugars and white flour, and making sure that we're not getting any extra sugars that are unnecessary, such as through sugar-sweetened beverages. The other important manifestation of a heart-healthy diet is making sure we're limiting the amount of sodium we're getting in our diet. And most of the salt that we eat doesn't come from what we shake onto our food. It's actually already in processed foods, and it's placed there when the food is processed and packaged. So if you're creating your own meals based on fruits and vegetables as sort of the core elements, you're likely to be getting much less sodium than if you're eating packaged and processed foods. So again, focus on that DASH eating pattern or a Mediterranean diet plan, and you'll be getting healthy fats, plenty of fruits and vegetables, high fiber, and lean protein. And that's the secret to a heart-healthy diet. It's no secret that America has an obesity problem. The combination of lower physical activity, more time spent at work, sedentary, sitting at our desks, and an unhealthy food environment mean that fully 2/3 of Americans are either overweight or obese. So since this is a problem that affects all of us, we're going to have to do solutions that also affect all of us, tilting the playing field so that we have healthier choices in our diet, and that default choice becomes the healthy choice. We also need to make sure that especially our children get off with healthy diets and more physical activity so that they maintain a lean body weight into young adulthood and beyond. For those of us who already are overweight or obese, it's imperative that we really focus on those things we can control to reduce our calorie intake and increase our physical activity, and the dividends will be very real. The way to tell if you're overweight or obese is to calculate your BMI, or body mass index. Body mass index is basically your weight scaled to your height. So you take your weight in kilograms and divide it by your height in meters squared. Most of us don't know those numbers very well, so there are easy calculators available on the web to help you calculate your BMI and to decide whether you're in the lean, overweight, or obese category. A healthy body mass index is anywhere between 18.5 and 24.9 kilograms per meter squared. Overweight is defined as 25.0 to 29.9 kilograms per meter squared, and obesity starts at 30 kilograms per meter squared or higher. There are 3 health factors that have to be measured in the doctor's office. The first of these that I'll talk about is the fasting blood glucose, or blood sugar. We measure blood sugar because we're looking to see whether someone has diabetes or prediabetes. Ideal levels of fasting blood glucose include less than 100 milligrams per deciliter, and that indicates that someone is far away from developing diabetes. The second health factor is blood cholesterol levels. Now, we all know the important role that cholesterol plays in the development of plaques in our arteries that can lead to heart attacks and strokes. So it's very important to know this number in order to help you and your doctor understand your risk for heart disease. Blood cholesterol levels are measured ideally in the fasting state, meaning you've had nothing to eat or drink for about 10 hours or more before the blood test is drawn. Ideal levels of blood cholesterol should be less than 200 milligrams per deciliter. Elevated blood pressure is the most common risk factor for heart disease and stroke in this country, and it's often termed the silent killer. This is another thing that's very important to get with your doctor and have your blood pressure measured, because day to day and moment to moment, it's very difficult for one to predict what one's own blood pressure is. So this is another number that's critically important. An ideal level of blood pressure means that the top number, the systolic blood pressure, is less than 120 millimeters of mercury, and the bottom number, or the diastolic blood pressure, is less than 80 millimeters of mercury. If those numbers aren't ideal, oftentimes we need medications to help improve them, but that's something that someone has to decide with their doctor. Since we created the definition of cardiovascular health in 2010, there's been an immense amount of research that's looked into this and the outcomes that are associated with better cardiovascular health. It turns out that not only do people with better cardiovascular health live longer, they live much longer free of heart disease and stroke, and interestingly, they have less cancer, less depression, better overall quality of life, and lower healthcare charges during the remainder of their lifespan. So this package of 7 metrics may be a very important way for us to both live better, but also have lower healthcare costs in this country. I hope that learning about Life Simple 7 has piqued your interest in understanding what your cardiovascular health is. And the American Heart Association has developed a wonderful tool that you can use on the web called My Life Check. So if you Google My Life Check, you'll be directed to a website where you can take a simple quiz. It'll be helpful if you know your numbers on cholesterol, blood sugar, and blood pressure. And that quiz will then help you determine what your cardiovascular health score is. For most of us, it won't be ideal. But for those things where you get a red light or a yellow light instead of a green light, there's wonderful content developed by the American Heart Association to help you understand how you can take that one step forward to improve your cardiovascular health. And that one step forward can be associated with dramatic reductions in your future risk for a heart attack or a stroke. So thank you for being with me today, and I hope that learning about Life Simple 7 has piqued your interest in learning more about your cardiovascular health. Remember, go to mylifecheck.org to get your cardiovascular health score and find out what you can do to improve it.